Good morning, traders. It's Thursday, April 27th. My name is Charles Goff, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. Thank you so much for joining us. I realized last night that I've got a workshop starting on Monday morning, and I have done absolutely nothing to promote it. I am the best at marketing. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So anyway, going live to the world here today so that I can talk about what's happening in the markets, share some insights with you, maybe help you figure out how to make some money, or at least help you avoid losing it with the market-generated information I'm going to share. And in exchange, I hope you'll let me promote my workshop that starts next week. But let's just begin by looking at what's been going on in the market. So we had a lot of balance. So you're going to hear me use the term balance and excess about 50,000 times in the next 2 minutes. Prepare yourself for that. Balance is basically when the market is in a range of uncertainty, and we have to wait until it's ready to break out of that range before it can really make any sort of substantial move. We call that a balance leading to excess. So what we have now in the markets is excess, right? Balance led to excess. Excess is the large momentum that we have had over the last 2 days and the trend to the downside. So the question that we're asking ourselves this morning is this momentum going to continue? Or was that all we're going to get? So the continuing of this momentum would be a continuation of that trend lower, the market making lower highs and lower lows and continuing to the downside. And an end of that momentum would be the market either just spending the day going sideways in this range down here where the overnight did, or the market turning around and trying to head back up, getting above yesterday's high. So in my mind right now, the highest probability is the third scenario I just described, the scenario where we go sideways this direction. The second most likely scenario is that we turn around and head back up. And the third most likely scenario is the continuation lower. And so I'm going to explain why. Now, that doesn't mean we can't just keep trending lower. We absolutely can. We're in a trend. They can keep it going. It can shock us how far they can keep it going. But all right, opening bell. But when we zoom out and look at the daily, I see something very interesting happening here. So I'm looking at the last time the market tried to do what we're trying to do right now. And that was, of course, right here, right? The market found support down here. It created momentum to the upside. And then it balanced up here in the 4,100 area, right? And it tried to break out of that balance. That first time when it tried to break out of that balance, look at where that balance low is. Okay. The first time it tried to break out of that balance, it could not do it. When it could not, what did the market do? It came back up in and then immediately went to the opposite end of balance. I remember I was there that day. It shocked us how far they pushed that market and how quickly. So that scenario is totally possible this morning, right? A scenario where the market tries to break below this balance and it fails, and the failure of doing so catapults the market back up to that opposite end. It can happen, folks. It happened right there. Now, the alternative is what happened a week later when we tried to break out of balance, which was we got the breakout, we got the continuation, the sign of the trend, the sign of the momentum, and then that momentum just kept going. Okay, that's the alternative. So the question I'm asking myself this morning is basically this right here. Is it one of these or is it one of these, right? Are we going to fail and pull back up into this balance area above us, or are we going to continue this momentum and head lower? So the next thing that jumps out at me is looking at the large volume nodes on the cumulative, which often act as larger support and resistance for the market. We worked our way from these larger nodes up here down to this larger node down here, but then instantly ran out of momentum at the end of the day yesterday. The overnight then opened down here in that node of volume and immediately started trading higher. So that tells me if they can get above yesterday's high, they're probably heading back up to that larger node. So I'm going to look at this morning as a chop zone, as I always do when the market is inside the previous day's range. I'm going to need what's happening this morning to give me insights as to what is going to happen for the rest of the day. Those insights will be, if we push above the overnight high and we find support there, I assume we're going to test yesterday's high. If we push above yesterday's high and we find support, well, then it was a look below and fail, and I'm looking for that move to the upside. Okay? If either of those we push above and we fail, we get above the overnight high and we pull back in, or we get above yesterday's high and we pull back in, I'm going to assume a sideways choppy day. Okay, where we're just going to balance inside the range from yesterday. Now, if the market pushes lower and we get below yesterday's low, the low from 2 days ago at 40.93, I will look for us to push down and test this node around 40.84. And then that is essentially the chop zone right there. So once we get below 84, I will look for continuation the same way I would above yesterday's high. Okay. If they push below, come back up and find resistance, I look for continuation lower. But if they push below and fail and pull back in, I assume more sideways. So to me, it really is that simple, right? I can just draw a box right here and say to myself, I don't know whether the market's going to go up this way with a look below and fail, or if it's going to go down this way with a continuation of the momentum. I just don't know. But I can use the way it moves in between as a signal to know which way it's going to break. And I can trust, because I've got the daily, because I can see what happens. Guys, just look at the last time we were here. Only one of two things happened. We dipped below and failed and rocket ship back up, or we dip below and succeed and get more excess to the downside. Right? We got to this level here, we failed. What did we get? More excess to the downside. We got to this level here and failed. What did we get? More excess to the downside. We got to this level here, and what did we do? More excess to the upside. We don't spend a lot of time in here. We just decide and reverse. Decide and reverse, decide and reverse, decide and reverse. So this is it. This is it. And we know whichever way it breaks from here, it's either going to head back up to that opposite end or continuation lower. To me, it's an exciting day, even if I have to sit through some chop before I get some insights. All of these things and more will be taught in the workshop. So once again, starting on Monday of next week, I'm teaching a 2-week workshop where I do live webinars 4 hours a day. They start at 11 a.m. in the morning. I do a lecture where I discuss a subject matter that I think is important for traders to learn about in sort of a PowerPoint lecture type of format. Then I just talk about the live markets and answer questions for the rest of the time. So I've had nothing but satisfied customers. And it's going really, really well. I'd love it if you join us. There is a link in the description and at the top of the chat. Just to give you a quick run through of some of the stuff we talk about, reading the two-way auction. So what I just talked about, balance and excess, and recognizing where are the important levels and what could happen next. Honing your intuition, recognizing how to read what signals and how to use them and why they're right for you. Deepening your self-understanding, understanding your psychology and how it affects your ability to trade on a day-to-day basis. Managing your risk, the most important part of trading. Learning how that process works so that you can protect yourself from painful drawdowns. thinking in probabilities, which is a skill set every trader must develop in order to find success, and of course, deepen your market understanding. We're going to teach you how I read the market profile, the internals, the Bookmap, and I use the candlesticks. All of it, all wrapped up in a 2-week period of time for $145. Get after it. Speaking of getting after it, the buyers trying to get up there and test that overnight high. That is at 41.05. If they can find support up there, if they push up there and they don't pull right back down, well, then we can assume they're heading up to test yesterday's high. As we hang out in the chop zone. The chop zone. Please smash that like if you have not yet. Only 32 likes. Got to get those likes up to get some new people coming to the channel. Good morning to Chillin' with Dylan, Nap, Tim A, The Shaw, Novice Trader, Cortman, Curly, Blue Shirt, Frito, Phillip, Scooball, Infornity, Gino, Caution, Joe, FRM, Daniel, Darth, Liquidity, Juan, John G, John L, Tim G, and Andrew G. Welcome, welcome. John Lash says, I remember that day we were all sitting there like it has to turn around sometime, and it never did. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but yeah, there's been a lot of that lately. I mean, it's balance inside of balance. Look at that. Just turn around, 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 whoop, turn around, turn around, whoop, turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around, whoop, turn around, turn around, turn around. You guys get the idea. Okay, we now have a week high, increasing the odds that we will test that overnight high. We actually also have a week low. Weakness on both sides. Armando says, if it's more like how much chop. Cortman says, we might chop until Amazon reports after the close. Hey, if that's what they got for us today, if we're going to spend all day inside yesterday's range, then so be it. It's a big range and there will be opportunity. So the first thing you can start looking at is, you know, if you think we're just going to have a choppy sideways day, are you looking to get short if we fail above that overnight high? Are you looking to get short if we fail above yesterday's high? If you're assuming chop, you would assume at the very least we're coming back through the open. There's opportunity right there. Market pushes up here, spends a little bit of time, can't get up there, comes back down. Boom, you get short with your stop above the high, target at the opening price. Boom. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All day, every day. Okay, so speaking of chop, remember what I said. When we're in a zone like this, we have to use the information that the market gives us once it opens as a signal of what to expect moving forward. So now the market's just given us a signal of more chop. How did it do that? Well, it created a weak low, and then it went up and created a weak high, and then it immediately came back down through that opening price. So this is behavior that tells us it wants to go down, and then it wants to come back up, and then it wants to keep going down. It just wants to chop. No one is in control yet. The buyers and the sellers are still playing tug of war. So we're now looking for support around 40.94. And then to turn around and chop back up. Now let's say, while we're talking hypotheticals, let's say it were to come down, find some support, come back up, and then it were to get resistance at the halfback. Well, that would tell us that we're going to try again. But then if it went through the halfback, well, that would tell us more chop. We're heading back up for the high. And so we just sit and watch how it handles these things. How does it handle support? How does it handle resistance? How does it handle the halfback? Eventually, it'll tell us which way it's going to go. But we must remain open to the market's information from its perspective. Elsa says, so bummed I can't be part of it due to a work commitment. We'll get in on the next one. Charles, you are a great coach. Thank you, Elsa. Appreciate you. Yeah, the next one's not going to be for a while. That's the other thing I wanted to mention. So I'm doing one over the next 2 weeks, next week and the following, and then I'm not doing another one again until the end of July. So if you've been thinking it's time for you to bear down and work on developing some actual skills and stop just gambling, don't put it off for 3 months. Join us next week. Oren says, will the workshop be recorded for those who, according to local time, is night? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, all the webinars are recorded and you can watch them later. Good morning, Waffles. Pavel, $6 million man. Pavel says, did you find out what we know according to the iceberg and Bookmap? How did we move the price? How was this week and last? No, I don't really see anything jumping out at me yet about the Bookmap. I have found the Bookmap, looking at icebergs and stops, isn't super helpful in the chop zone. You got to kind of wait until one side takes control, and then it starts to give you insights. Right now, while they're paying tug of war, it's just, you're going to see like the same number of buying icebergs, same number of selling icebergs, same number of stops on both sides, because that's all it's doing. Ranging. 7 Mile Reach says, Q is taking out overnight resistance. What's the Q up to? Ooh, man. Okay. So this significantly increases the odds that we're going to have a sideways or up day today because the Q opened above yesterday's high. So they created a gap. They have not quite filled the gap yet. So the first question on the Q is, do we have a gap and go? Are they going to find support at yesterday's high and then continue to the upside? That would increase the odds that it's a balance area, that it's going to be a look below and fail. You know? Ba-boom! So very important to see what happens at yesterday's high on the Q. Obviously, if they still had excess, if they had broken out of this balance and we were going to keep going lower, we should have been able to take the market lower today. The fact that we opened above yesterday's range is a sign we do not have that excess. And if they can't take the market down, what are they going to do? So looking at 13,013. Oh boy, 13,013. That sounds like a number a bot would like. For support, can they hold it? Andrew says, it's a trap. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yesterday's high will tell you it's not a trap if they hold that. So essentially the sellers from the opening price today could just be targeting getting to yesterday's high. So they've got all their limit orders to go long waiting down here. Okay. And if there really is momentum, if it's not a trick, if it's not a trap, the stronger hand buyers will also be waiting right at yesterday's high. So if the market comes down there and it finds those buyers, where do you think it's going to go? Now, of course, if it fails, well, sure. Then we can talk. All right, no resistance at the halfback increases the odds. We're heading back up to the high. So we're looking to do the same thing as before, test that overnight high. Mark says, hi, unpopular topic, but if you are a successful trader using the market profile reading, then why do you push the boot camps and the workshops? Not trying to sound like a jerk, just curious. It's a great question and a totally fair one. So it's been a journey that I've been on. I never set out to do this. As a matter of fact, a couple months ago, when I suddenly realized I was a frou-rou, that I was now a professional who sells, trading education, it kind of shocked me. There's literally a tweet that I posted where I said, I am not your frou-rou. Like, I was freaked out. I was like, this is never what I intended. How did this happen? But it just happened in steps, right? So when I first started the brigade, when I first started live streaming on YouTube, it was just about having people to do it with, right? To just not be alone all day, every day. Because, it was the pandemic and I was alone all day in my apartment. And I just thought it'd be nice to have a community, to have people to hang out with. But then they just kept asking questions again and again. Well, how do you do this? And how do you understand that? And blah, blah, blah. And so I just kept explaining things more and more. And it turned into me teaching people how I look at markets. And it wasn't my desire to teach. It was just my desire to have a community of people to hang out with. And they had questions and I was happy to answer them. And so that's how one thing led to another. Now, how did we end up to the point where I've got the workshops? is through the process of trying to teach people what I've learned, I have learned how to teach. I have gotten better and better at recognizing what things are actually effective in helping people understand these concepts. And one of the most disappointing realities in that was that I learned the live streams. I was trying to teach by just talking about what's happening in the market all day, every day. What I learned is that that is actually not a very good method for teaching. It's a very good method if you understand something to hone the skill and to make it better and better. But if you don't understand it at all, just listening to an expert talk about it all day in a complex way is not going to help you. You have to start with the basics. So I built the e-course to be those basics, to be the like, okay, here's the stepping stones. You can do it in the e-course. You can do it on your own time and, get through it and learn everything you need to learn. Then you'll get so much more out of the boot camps. So then I created the e-course, and it was a lot of work, but you all loved it. I had nothing but positive responses. Okay, so now we're testing the overnight high, seeing if we can find some new buyers up here. And I had a really great response, and it really helped people. But again, one problem that I noticed was that a lot of people just don't do the work. They'll sign up, they'll pay the money, they'll sit through the first half of the lessons, and then they'll just stop. And it's like they're not motivated to keep putting in the effort when there's no accountability. So then I created the workshops and the boot camp to be that. So that now there's both options available to people. There is the option of learning in the live environment in a workshop where you literally have to be there for class each day, and that accountability forces you to do the work. Or if you like to learn at your own speed, you've got the e-course and you can just learn on your own and do that, right? So creating the products was about trying to create a best way for you all to learn. So then the other part of your question is, well, why don't I just trade? Why don't I just focus on making money, trading my own account, and doing my own thing? And that is also a very fair question. And at the end of last year, around December, I was debating that. I was debating just completely giving up on the brigade, focusing totally on my own trading and just making money at that and not being distracted by all of this. But I realized two things. First and foremost, I get no satisfaction from trading. I get a little bit of the satisfaction when you win money, but like overall life satisfaction, there's nothing, right? I feel nothing. Whereas helping people work through something very difficult. Okay, so we are finding some buyers at the overnight high. That increases the odds. We're going to test yesterday's high at 4109. Look for new buyers up there. So what I realized is that helping people through the brigade and helping people through teaching gives me a sense of meaning in life. It gives me a sense of purpose, and it makes me feel good. Even if, and I'll be totally honest with you, I do not get compensated fairly. The amount of people that sign up for these things and the amount of hours that I spend working on them, I'm still getting paid next to nothing. But I do the work and I put in the hours because it feels good to help people. And then the other side of that coin, which is something I talk about in the workshop, is that anything you can do as a trader to create sort of a side hustle for yourself, anything you can do to have other forms of income coming in can actually really, really relieve the tensions that you feel about your trading, right? When I have to pay my bills 100% from the trades I take, it's just a lot harder to remain clear-minded and understand what I'm doing. Okay, so testing that support at the overnight high once again. And so having a little bit of revenue coming in, even if it's not much, a little bit of revenue, a little beer money coming in through the brigade and the workshops, it just makes me feel a little bit less pressure when I'm having a tough time trading. So if I have a bad day or a couple bad days in a row, I don't get overly worked up and fearful because I know I've got, this other revenue coming in, so I don't have to worry so much. I hope that answers your question. Min says, are contents and materials different between the boot camp and the workshop? Well, first off, we're not doing the boot camp anymore, so that one's gone. But yeah, so the workshop is everything. It is both market understanding, so how to read the chart, how to read the market profile, how to read the internals, blah, 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 and the psychology, which is what the boot camp was. What it is not is the one-on-one back and forth like the boot camp was. So in the workshop, you're just listening to me talk instead of having a conversation. Okay, I definitely feel like I've promoted it enough now. We can move on. Back to the markets. Can they hold the overnight high? David V, am I planning to offer the 4-week workshop? At some point, yes, but not anytime soon. I'm probably years away from that. There just isn't an audience for it. Right now, people need the basics. All right, so a failure to find support at the overnight high increases the odds of more chop, that we're likely to head back down to that low. And we're watching the halfback. Can it hold as support? If not, the chop continues. Cortman, when asked why I'm doing the workshop, he says, because people kept asking the same fucking questions until Charles went mad. It is true. That is also part of it. I just got tired of saying the same things every day over and over and over. All right. So the value area popping up like that was as we print a B period here is just one more little piece of market generated information. Obviously, the market is still in a chop zone, but it slightly increases the odds that they might try to take the market higher. Because again, if what we're asking ourselves is, are we going to have more excess? Is this momentum to the downside going to continue? We should not see value get overlapping to higher from the previous day's value. That is a sign the momentum is over. So to me, seeing that increases the odds we're either going sideways or higher today. Okay, once again, can they turn the overnight high into support? Jay says, how did you decide to go full-time in the market? I didn't. I got fired from my job, and then COVID lockdowns happened. And I just thought, I can't go anywhere anyway. Might as well try to do this full time. And then I just put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed. And I would say about 7 or 8 months after that, I was profitable. Or starting to anyway. RK says if you have Twitter or Facebook or 4chan or Instagram, post the workshop ads. Least we can do. Yeah, I'd love that. Post some links. Get me in your 4chan. Okay, so the market just made what we call a poor high. Often the market pushes away from a poor high, but it is just looking for support to come back and repair it. So we are looking for support once again at that overnight high. Scooball says, if you have a second, can you zoom in and show the moment the market created the weak high at the overnight? I cannot, because the Bookmap only, like you have to have it open in real time to record the data. So I don't have the data from the overnights. It's just blank. But I can tell you it's weak. It was right at the base of single prints. I'm pretty sure it was probably a iceberg. Percy, appreciate you. That's what I'm talking about. Proof. Patrick says, or a shill. Haha. Patrick, I have video of you from boot camp talking about how much I helped you. Who's the shill now? Scooball says that poor high was not made by an iceberg, but by waiting orders. That is interesting. Probably shorts covering, wouldn't you think? Ooh, no support at yesterday's high. The chop continues. Now we're looking to test the halfback. Can I just say how happy I am that bot shenanigan zone is sticking? It's a tricky word. It's a lot of syllables, but it's worth it. It's a pleasure to say. This high is getting weaker and weaker. So every time they do this, every time they push up and they reverse at that exact same area, again and again and again and again, what's happening is the sellers that are going short there are putting their stops up here. And they're just increasing the odds. The market needs to poke up to get that liquidity. So imagine the seller who's thinking, oh, we just made a high and shorting right now. What are they going to do if the market comes back up? Sometimes a very effective strategy for understanding the market is just ask yourself how you would feel if you had been long or short at this level. What would you do if the next thing were to happen? Seven-mile reach says the Q is ranging, but higher lows so far. Yeah, dude. It's gap and go. Gap and go. You're above the overnight high. Dude, the second the B period breaks the A period high, you've got momentum. Never doubt a gap and go. If they want to take the market lower, that gap fill is their chance. If they couldn't even get a chance, momentum. Speaking of momentum, looks like we're finally coming for those stops. Holger says, could I potentially do a public YouTube streaming tomorrow morning? He'd be willing to recommend the workshop to 2 trading acquaintances, but they've never heard of me. You got it, Holger. We'll go public tomorrow morning as well. Workshop promo day 2. Invictus says sellers are in danger of a short squeeze. You guys know where I speculate on the market going, long from 40.94. Yeah, I mean, I would call it a look below and fail, but yes, sir. All right, well, now we're setting ourselves up to get bullish. We've got a higher high and a higher low than yesterday. We've got value overlapping to higher. So that is the market telling us the momentum down is over. And so we know for sure we're either going sideways or higher today. So the next question is, are we going higher? How do we find out? Support at yesterday's high. If they can hold these levels up here now, they can keep it going for the rest of the day as a look below and fail that heads back up. But if they pull back down and they pull back into yesterday's range and they do not find support there, we're probably going sideways for the rest of the day. So the bulls just took control. Can they hold it? There's your short covering. Remember what I said? What are all those sellers going to do? Well, this is what they're going to do. Freak out. Freak out. Bow, bow, bow. Wow, a lot of short covering. So we're looking for some resistance up here at 41.16 and then to pull back and test yesterday's high for support. One of those random little nuances that can be very, very helpful. Anytime I see a level in the middle of the range with less than 200 contracts, it catches my eye. Often it acts as a magnet to pull market back to it. Andrew says, panic. Yes, sir. Whenever you see those thin volume and that tempo moves super fast out of nowhere like that, you realize that that's all just shorts getting stopped out and having to cover. So the real truth will come once we pull back down if we find buyers there. Well, then we know those are new buyers. Not just shorts that are freaking out, but longs who want the market to keep going. Okay, so they're playing that game again. Magnet number 2. They did it with the A period high. They're now doing it again with this B period high. This is an iceberg that exists for the purpose of the next time we push up there, it'll bounce off it again, probably bounce off it a third time, and they'll just be bringing more and more liquidity above so that they can do that, boop, once more up here, boop. So I'm looking for support, as that is bullish to see. Yang says, how to calculate halfback? Halfback is just 50% of the day's range. So just literally halfway from the high to the low of the day. You can see it on my software. It's this little white line that's running across here. But now halfback's no longer important. Halfback was important when we were chopping inside the previous day's range to tell us whether or not we could come up here to test the high. Now it's the high that's important. It's holding the support here at 41.09 or bringing in new buyers above it. Either case, that will give us insights moving forward. Now, if the market looks above that level and pulls back down, halfback won't matter, right? We'll probably just crash right back down through the open. So that was an important piece of data when it was important earlier on in the morning. Now I don't pay attention to it. Now the data that's important is the previous day's high. And that is what I'm paying attention to. Can they hold it? Well, it's a computer creating the support. That's weak. So just for the record, normally at this moment, I'd be saying bullish. I'd be like, bullish, bullish, bullish. We got support at the previous day's high. But because of those freaking icebergs and the way they stopped exactly to a tick, one tick above yesterday's high, makes me feel like we're in a bot shenanigan zone. They're going to take it down, take it up, take it down, take it up, take it up, and freak us out up here. So I'm going to sit back, relax, and give this a minute to work itself out. I'm not going to instantly assume support or instantly assume look above and fail. I'm going to let them grind a bit because that's what they need. We're in a bot shenanigan zone. Scott, I did not, but it's a good idea. It was a bot attack, a bot attack. They brought the ES back. They brought it back. It was a trading floor smash. Ooh. It was a stop fill smash. That's great. Chris E says bot shenanigans in the morning and murder bot in the afternoon. I know. And news bots in the middle. Isn't it the best? Isn't it just the best? I got box to the left of me, shenanigans to the right. Here I am, stuck in the chop zone with Charles. Hey, if there's anyone you want to be stuck in the chop zone with, baby, it's me. I'm here for you while they chop it up. Okay, so all indications are that they're holding this support, but I can't trust the highs yet. Normally, I'd want to get bullish, but I feel like if they poke up, they're just going to send it right back down because they left that iceberg down here and they left that iceberg up there. It tells me what they're trying to do is get the market to go up, get as many people long as they can, then rip them back down, get as many short as they can, and vice versa inside this zone. So if I just have to be patient and sit and watch it go up because I know it's going to come right back down, well, then so be it. Or as Scooball puts it more simply, I can't go long with this weak low. Not yet. Chopping it up on WCHP Radio. Telling you, I should have been a shock jock. Ugh, yeah, see? So now we left those single prints behind. We almost need to come back looking for support. Yang says, where is the week low? The week low is 41.11, and it's just weak because it was literally one tick above yesterday's high. And we could see that when they got it there, they held it exactly at that level. So only one reason to do that, to get people to go long and put their stops below. So they did it at the high and the low, which is why we call it a shenanigan zone. We don't know which way they want to break it eventually. Are they trying to build up momentum to break it lower? Or are they trying to build up momentum to break it higher? We don't know. Right now, they're going to do the shenanigans. They're going to go up and down to get as many people long or short as they can so that they can break them one way or another. But we just don't know which way. Less than ideal, as it just takes away our edge. Like I said, normally I'd want to buy, but not with that. Invictus, this is actually great insight. Invictus says, I have been immersing myself in zero-day options, theta decay. 40% of the value of the zero-day option is in the first hour and a half. This explains why, for the most part of the day, we get stuck now in an initial balance period. That is exactly right. Anyone who's buying 0 days before the market opens as a guess for where it's going to close that day, if it doesn't start to move in their direction right away, they lose a lot due to time decay. So basically the most painful thing for the options buyers, whether they're long or short, is for the market to go nowhere for the first couple hours. Hence the the gap and chop that we've been getting. All right, so now as we work our way up to the highs, we want to see, are they going to play this game again? Are they going to keep that iceberg at 41.15 and just keep smacking the market down right there again and again and again and again? If they do, they're building up that liquidity above. They disappeared the iceberg from the low. So that could be a sign. Again, it would be a guess. It could be a sign that the shenanigans is over. But of course, I don't know. Tim A says that's why you never buy options. You only sell to open them. The vast majority of options expire worthless, regardless of if they are 0 day. Yeah, but the problem with that is people who sell options don't understand the risk. The only risk that you take when you buy an option is losing the value of the option, however much you paid in premium. But the losses when you sell an option are unlimited, especially if you sell a call option. You can lose more money than you have. And just people don't understand that. And so they make money for years. Like there's people who make money for 4, 5, 6 years selling options like a beast. And then in one crazy day, when there's a black swan event, they completely wipe out their entire account. And then they lose confidence and they're never able to trade again and their career is over. So if all you do is sell options, I hope you have insurance. Okay, they're starting to pull liquidity. You can see the red is getting less and less dark. So as the market's getting up there, the fake orders are beginning to pull, but that iceberg is still there. It wants to fill and hold the market down. So we got another poor high. Fill it. Fill it. Oh, there goes the liquidity. Nope, they held it. This iceberg's like, no, bitches. More sellers, more sellers, more stops, more stops, more stops. Oh, see, and now the poor trader that's going short right now. The poor trader that thinks they just saw a double top. Oh, little do ye know. am I early on the banner? Do we want to take bets at how much they're going to let fill here? I'm going to go with 1,200 contracts before we break through. Oh, only 1,000. Okay, so now the market is one time framing higher. Now the shenanigans are finally over. We've got momentum. We've got support above the previous day's high. Ladies and gentlemen, the market is trending higher. Act accordingly. So we are now looking for support at 41.08, 41.10, or 41.12 to hold for continuation to the upside. We do have resistance right here at the base of this single prints down from a couple days ago. But once we're through that, it's all aces from there. This has just turned into a look above and fail on a weekly basis. So zooming back out, this is that area we talked about earlier. This is that area once again. So looking below it yesterday, pulling above it today, increased the odds that the market might be trying to head up towards the other end. Getting above the previous day's high and finding new buyers up there is a confirmation that that is likely what is happening. Now, that doesn't mean we have to go straight up today. It doesn't mean we're going to literally instantly reverse and shoot straight up. That is, by the way, what happened on this day, the last time this happened. But it doesn't mean that's what has to happen today. We can still just kind of go sideways at a higher price now. But this is momentum. And that's bullish to see. Let's pop over and take a look at the Q. Okay, well, yep, Q also. One time framing higher. Also left a set of single prints behind. And their target is now testing the resistance around 13,140 to the upside. Let the trendy roll. Let them melt it up. Let the trendy roll. Let the shorts get stomped. All right, so no support in that node around 12. Now we're looking for support at the base of the singles, 41.08. But Charles, weren't we talking about that level before? Before you said you didn't trust it. Before you said it wasn't a good low. Well, yeah, because before we weren't one time framing higher. Before we hadn't cleared out those weird bots that were at the high and the low. So now things have changed. Now we can trust this support. We have the momentum. The buyers are in charge. We're just trying to figure out what level they step in. All right, so as you guys can see in the comments there, I said the market is trending higher, and I will assume it's going to continue to trend higher, meaning the price is going to keep going higher and higher and higher all day until I see the signal that it is done. That signal to me is cessation of the trend. So at this point right now, in order for me to be convinced that the market's just going sideways today and not going to keep going higher, is that I need to see it pull down and get below the B period low. Or let's say we were to print the D period right now, the D period to get below the C, and so on and so forth throughout the rest of the day. As long as the market each 30-minute period continues to make higher highs and higher lows, I will assume it's just going to keep going. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times on these types of situations, like a look below and fail of a balance area, it can be extremely difficult to understand the momentum. It can feel all day like they're about to reverse it and take it back down, but they're not. As long as they're still trending, they're just still heading in that direction. And so the easiest thing you can do on a day like today is either choose to not participate, to say, listen, I don't trust the momentum, so I'm just not going to trade. And then you wait for cessation to begin trading, or you trade with the momentum and you wait for cessation to get you out. Okay. So then we talk about the ticks. Well, the ticks are telling us that we don't have momentum, right? The internals are rolling over to the downside, and they're telling us that we don't have the new buyers up here. So is that a reason to choose to not go long because you don't trust the momentum? Absolutely, it is. But I am still going to look at the market from the perspective that it is trying to go higher until I get that cessation. Okay? I'm still looking for support to buy the market because of that momentum. Look below and fails are one of those things that just other traders just don't see. They just don't comprehend that if we couldn't keep going down, we start going up. Peter says, do you study the 15-minute profile? I have observed that it tends to be more reliable during this period of uncertainty. Do you mean in terms of trends? Like if it's making higher highs and higher lows? Is that what you mean? Scooball, do you still trade rotation when you are going off after end of the trend? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you're saying when I see cessation, do I start trading it like rotation? Yes, I do. As I've mentioned a lot, with these new markets, there is a different way to trade rotation, which is to take into account the potential that you could break out. But I still trade it as rotation every time. And I'm still right more than I'm wrong. Peter, in terms of everything, 15-minute TPOs? Wait, no, I've never tried 15-minute. But you're telling me it's better? Oh, you're asking if I will keep trading it as rotation? Yes, I would. So if we got cessation right now, would I just stop for the day or would I trade it as rotation? I would 100% definitely trade it as rotation, right? There's no way in hell I'm worried about the market breaking lower now. Yes, we left behind a week low. Yes, we had the momentum over the last few days. But if they wanted to take the market lower, we shouldn't be bringing in this volume above the previous day's high. So if we were to get cessation, absolutely, I'd be happy to buy for rotation. All right, testing the base of those B period single prints. Can they hold as support? Scooball, the market is going for the stops for me before. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, this market over the last few months is a master of taking out stops. And the only solution to that is smaller position sizes with wider stops. It sucks because you make less money, but it is what it is. All right, lack of support at the base of the single prints is less bullish to see. But as long as they keep that C period low above that B period low, my assumption is we're heading higher. RK says, just found a printed chart from 8/26/22. ES was at 42.18, dropped to 40.76. We forgot those days. Oh, we didn't forget. We're well aware. That's what the market does. It changes on you, right? Back in these days, where we're having these crazy big ranges, you know, over and over again, these insane sort of ranges again and again and again. those were tough to stay in the trend trade because you just would say to yourself, they can't keep going. They can't keep pushing it. They've gone way too far. They got to come back again and again and again. And then when you get into this zone over here, where we start to get into these super tight ranges where the market goes nowhere, where the volatility disappears, it's hard to stay in the trend trade because all day you're like, it's going to reverse, it's going to reverse, it's going to reverse. They don't make it easy, that's for sure. Ooh, D period. Right at a one-time framing opportunity. Excellent entry there. You got support from the overnight high, support from the halfback, and the one-time framing. Can they hold it? Oh, CeeLo is weak. Yep. Fighter pilot. Here's a lobbed up softball question for you. After traders learn from you, purchase the e-course, become good at it, some even masterful, where do you see the brigade in 3 years? Well, hopefully as a thriving community, that the traders who master it are able to continue to support the new traders that are trying to learn it. This is where I run into the problem, right? Is that since I've started the brigade, and you are, of course, an exception to this, fighter pilot, thank you so much. But one thing I have noticed is that a lot of people, a lot of professional traders come in here, they learn from me, they try to be a member of the community, meaning they try to contribute, but then what happens is they end up getting in ridiculous arguments with people, right? Somebody who's like an amateur who doesn't know what they're doing is sitting there arguing with them over something, and this person knows what they're doing. And so over time, they just get quieter and quieter. They post less and less. They contribute less and less. They kind of lose patience with the newer traders, and then they disappear. And a lot of them are still paying for a membership. They're still coming to hang out and listen to me, but they're not contributing anymore. And so the goal, over the next few years is to learn how to create an environment where everybody feels comfortable contributing and supporting one another without feeling like it's a bunch of work for nothing. Like, because every time you try to help somebody, they just attack you for it, one puzzle at a time. I'm working on it. But I will say, for me, one treat is when people who have been asking me a lot of questions. So somebody who's been asking me every day, what does this mean? What does that mean? Blah, blah, blah. How would you read that? Da, da, da. When all of a sudden they start offering up insights, when all of a sudden they start saying things that I didn't see. Scooball just pointed out that weak low at the C period. I didn't see that. So that's very helpful. So wouldn't it be great if I had a room full of people who could catch all my little mistakes, all little things I miss, could give me insights when I'm off base, when I've got confirmation bias? Sounds pretty good. The Shaw says, I contribute with songs. I'm the lyricist. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Corman says, I add the third grade level humor. Dude, that's the best kind. Love a good poop joke. Coop says, yesterday I typed out a thoughtful comment, which another user responded to by laughing at me. You then followed on and confirmed that he was 100% correct. The Discord is not really a friendly place. Uh-oh. Dun, 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 dun. Drama in the LBC. Okay. Yeah, I didn't contradict a single thing you said. I agreed with you. Why do you feel attacked? All I agreed with Tim was that he was 100% correct that once the market starts moving, everything is random and anything can happen. So I agreed with you that the indicators are only useful if you're a master of using them, right? Which in your case is using them as divergences. And then I agreed with him that once the market opens, you have to start moving forward. So in a comment where I support you and I support him in a way that ends the argument between you and ends with a little laugh, that is you feeling attacked? Sorry, brother, but you may need to grow some thicker skin. In my humble opinion. Oh, there it is. Cessation of the trend. All right. Well, it looks like we are looking at a sideways day. All right. So the market is now rotational, meaning that the higher probability is that we're going to be range bound for the rest of the day. So I will now be looking for support. I mean, there's a lot of different levels in here from yesterday, but mainly looking for support around 41.02 and the opening price 40.99. Looking for the market to find buyers in there and then head back up towards the center of the range where the point of control is. Then push higher, run out of buyers up there and come back down. Now that we did leave a weak low behind. It was weak because we only traded 55 contracts there. So there is a chance they may need to poke down there real quick before coming back up to the POC. So I will have to take that into account when I'm choosing to enter a trade down here for a rotation. I'm going to have to accept that I couldn't use a tight stop because they may need to come take it out. So that means either I'm using a wider stop with a smaller position size, or I'm just not entering the trade with a limit order. I'm waiting to watch the market look below, and then as it comes back up, I'm entering there. Okay? But the point I want to make is that I believe, however it does it, the market is just going to go sideways from here. It's going to keep coming back to this center of the range. It's going to push down. It's going to come back. It's going to push up. It's going to come back again and again for the rest of the day. So trade that with that perspective, and you will likely have an edge. Well, Charles, what about the scenario where it just breaks and it starts selling off and goes way lower? That to me is the least likely scenario because of how much time and how much volume we've brought in above yesterday's range, or I would say at the upper end of yesterday's range. We've spent enough time and we've brought in enough volume up here to make this feel like a fair price to do business. So the further we push away from it, the cheaper and cheaper the market is becoming, the more and more desirable it is to buyers, increasing the odds they'll buy and bring us back, and same thing from the sellers above. Scooball says, disappointing trend today. Yep. But if they can't do a good job of trending, maybe they'll do a good job of rotating. If they didn't have the momentum, maybe they'll have the balance. Waffle says the Q is still in a trend. You are right. The Q is still trending. I suspect with the fact that the ES is going sideways, the Q probably doesn't have much more steam left in the engines. I would say maybe 13130 to 150 area is likely where we run out of steam. But for now, they do still have that momentum. And it might shock us how far they push it. Week high as well. Daniel says the last few days it looked like the trend stopped, but it picks up again, going in that direction after cessation. Yeah, I don't think that's likely today. If you want to choose to assume that, you're welcome to, but I will not. I will assume it's going to rotate. All right, guys. Well, with that, I'm going to part ways with you. I will keep trading, and I am, like I said, happy to trade this as rotation, happy to sell resistance above value, happy to buy support below. Thinking it's probably going to grind sideways all day. If there's some kind of a break, it'll probably be in that last hour or so as a spike. Any last questions for me before I say sayonara to everyone? Also, anyone willing to push that like button? We only got 64 likes. Come on, smash it. Abilis says, do you have daily signals? I do not. I can give you the signals for today. Are you ready for the signals for today? If the market gets down here in this area down here between 4104 and 4198, and it's finding support, meaning there's buyers stepping in, I will buy it. I will take profits when we get back to the point of control, which is at the center of the range around 4106. Okay. If the market pushes above value up here and it's finding resistance and it can't go any higher, I'd be happy to sell it for a trade back to that point of control. Now, if I don't trust it, if I'm thinking, no, it's not going to find resistance, well, then I would just wait and watch. And if it looked above and failed and pulled back in, I'd short it then. Same thing on the downside. If I wasn't trusting the support, if I was like, I don't think it's going to hold, I'd just let it be. Leave it alone. Let it poke below, and then I'd get long on the way back up. All right, well, what if that doesn't happen? What if it pushes above that C period high and new buyers step in? Or it pushes below that A period low and new sellers step in? Well, then I would no longer see it as rotational. I would see it as a breakout from rotation, and I would trade in that direction. So I can't give you the signals right now because I don't know which thing is going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know how many opportunities I'm going to have. I may only get one trade. I may get 10. They may be trades with super tight stops. They may be trade with wide stops. I just got to wait and see what the market gives me. All I know now is how I'm going to play whatever happens. Below value with support, I'm playing it long to the POC. Breakout, I'm playing it short. Above value with resistance, I'm playing it short to the POC. The breakout, I'm playing long. And otherwise, I'm sitting on my hands, watching the market chop, and just trying to enjoy my life and live in the moment. And I think you should too as well. Thanks, guys. I will do tomorrow public as well on the request of Holger. And we'll see you all here tomorrow morning. Thank you very much.